Hello and welcome back to the iTest FC. We're doing season predictions today. I know the season isn't done yet, but as we covered in the last episode, Liverpool are champions. There's not much to play for. We've seen all teams for about 34 odd games, so there's no one really who can surprise us anymore. Season predictions time. I've got Praddy with me again. We are going to do some rules before we jump right in. Right, so we do it similar to fantasy. So no more than 3 players from the same team. 4-3-3 is, the formation which is most widely used. So we just stick with 4-3-3. You can have your pick and how you want your midfield three. But let's get right into it, right? Goalkeepers.
Okay, cool. This is going to be interesting. So we're building our team of the year, team of the season. So let's see. Goalkeeper. Okay. I'm going for someone who is probably a little left field, but I've been thoroughly impressed by him, and that is Sells.
Bro, I've gone for Matt Sells as well.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, okay. Of course, look who you're talking to, bro. The left field picks, of course, right?
Exactly, yeah. I just couldn't take Alisson in good consciousness because he missed a large part of the season with injury. And so, because we did have Kelleher come in and fill up that role, and he did a great job as well. So I think while there's probably very few, if maybe one or two better than Alisson in the world right now, I can't put him for this season just because he didn't miss a decent chunk of it.
Yeah. I mean, and I think you made a good point, right? Because this, predictions, or not predictions, but season, team of season is purely on the players who have performed the best this season. It's not about your big name players or, the reputation, right? It's just purely based on performance. And on that, David Raya was a very close second because in a quite average or struggling Arsenal team, he has bailed Arsenal out on quite a few occasions. But I think because of the gap, right, in expectations versus reality, nobody expected Nottingham Forest to be where they are, and Seds had a huge part to play in that. And every time he made a huge save, Elanga or Hudson-Odoi would go down the wings and they would just grab a 1-0 win, and that was down to that save in the previous action by Seds. So yeah, I mean, it's he's on the wrong side of 30, but yeah.
For a goalkeeper, that's fine. It is no really wrong side of 30, but I think Raya, the other problem, I've seen him, I think Arsenal have also had a few mistakes playing out from the back, and Raya has been, suspect in a few of them. I think a couple of instances, middle of the season. If I can't, don't ask me to remember the exact, but I'm pretty sure that there were a few ones where there were a few calls, I'm pretty sure early or mid part of the season, where he's probably been a little suspect. But that's not to take away anything from the guy. I really like Raya. I think he's been a solid goalkeeper. But I think Sells the sort of shock and awe that we've seen from them. And also the Premier League is not short of any good, of good goalkeepers. They have Nick Pope, Pickford. They've all been, there or thereabouts constantly there. But I think it's been quite a shock, and it's quite a good surprise for the season to see someone like a Matt Sells.
True. Yeah, I think the only thing which I feel Raya did better than Sells over the season was he was more proactive, in the box, right? So for all crosses that came in, he would statistically catch more, and I think he helps Arsenal play out a bit better. But as I said, I think their defense has been really good, Nottingham Forest. So yeah, that's, I think, an easy one to start with. Let's move on to defense. Yeah, let's move on to defense. Fullbacks.
What do you want to do first? Okay, fine.
Let's do fullbacks.
Okay, do you want to go first? Because I did the goalkeeper first. I'm quite interested to hear who your fullbacks are.
Okay, so on right back, I think it's between Ola Aina and Trent. Both.
Okay.
Because I think Ola Aina has given the Nottingham team that like burst forward, and the other three defenders were a bit more on the defensive side. And he was that kind of transition between defense and midfield. And he's also been quite solid midfield. He plays with both feet. He has a very good like goal in him. Trent, I think, has improved massively defensively this season. Like compared to, his biggest criticism was he's great, counter-pressing, counter-attacking, like going up crazy assist numbers for a defender. But his defensive play was suspect.
One of the best passers of the ball in the game, and especially in a right back position. That is, I think,
and
ability to spread.
Yeah, I think no one doubts that, right? And I think this season I was really impressed, like especially in their beginning run, like Liverpool's first 15 games that gave them that edge. Trent was really good, but I think. Spoiler alert, I do have quite a few Liverpool players in this list, and we can only pick 3, which is why I'm picking Ola Aina ahead of Trent here for my right back.
Okay. If you want me to give my right back, I can't agree more than Ola Aina. I was about to say the same. I really don't think, again, while I do agree that Trent had a really good first half, I think the impact of Trent in this team has diminished since Klopp's left, and especially the way Arne Slot plays. It definitely sort of reduces the impact, because you had Klopp needing the fullbacks to bombard forward in order to deliver those crosses either to Firmino, Salah, Mane, right? And now that's sort of died down, even though you probably have a better centre forward in Darwin Núñez now, who should be a better header of the ball, or should be a better goal scorer. So ideally, you should have had Trent and Andy kind of bombard forward. But no, he's probably kept them a lot more reserved, especially on Trent's side rather than Andy. I think Andy still pushes up.
Yeah, because I think you were mentioning, right, like Salah is relieved of his defensive duties, so someone on that side needs to defend, and I think that's Trent, and he's shown that he can do that as well. Right.
That being said, I still wouldn't have him in any other conversation. I think even in the conversation, I think he's missed a few games. His form has dipped ever since the talks to Madrid have come in, and I just feel like there has been some sort of effect in his game, and it's negatively impacted how he's performed. So I still think Aina over, and that's crazy because we already have 2 Nottingham Forest players.
Yeah. 2 Nottingham Forest and 2 agreements, like I expected the goalkeeper maybe, but none of the back 4. But let me go with my left back, and this is actually one of the trickiest positions that I had to pick, because I think there is an abundance of talent in that left back spot. I think I know who you're going to pick, and I think Kerkez is a huge shout. I also had Anthony Robinson in there.
Ooh, yeah.
But I'm going to go for Lewis Kelly. Because I think if I'm looking at my team, right, I think Ola and I can invert from that side and Lewis Kelly can invert from this side. Plus, I think if you look at where Lewis Kelly had been in the start of the season, right? Like, he was a youth player. He wasn't even playing. He got yellow carded before his first Premier League minute. He was told to, stay humble at the Etihad. And then he cemented himself, as a Premier League regular. Maybe he got lucky, and his lucky break was because of injuries. But he got his England cap, his first England goal, youngest goal scorer in England history. Played like crazy game against Real Madrid, both legs. Had an excellent game against PSG in the first leg as well. And I think this guy at 18 is a star. And I think he deserves his plaudits, because no one really expected Lewis Kelly to be in the Arsenal team. And for what he's performed and given that spark to the team, I think he deserves his place there.
Fair. For me, I'm going Kerkez. I think you knew that already. I mean, that Bournemouth team is one of the more exciting teams to actually watch in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Despite the sort of the injuries that they've had across the season, but one sort of constant threat down that flank has been Milos Kerkez. He's probably, fit. He fits well in there. He's been very attacking as well as solid defensively, which is a rarity to kind of find, because either you have a really solid left back defensively or a attack. I mean, you could say Robertson did have a point where he was good either way, but he's probably had a huge drop off. So for me, it's Kerkez. I think he's a threat down there. His linkages with either Kluivert or whoever it is there on the left, right, for them, has been really solid. Who plays on the left for them?
Yeah, I mean, it is Kluivert for the most part, and Semenyo plays through the middle. But Kerkez, I think what I really love about him this season is he's a traditional fullback in that sense. He came from that AC Milan school with like Maldini and all of that as a background, and then he came in to the Premier League, didn't miss a beat. You mentioned this last episode, like you would want him in that Liverpool team, and I get that. Like, I wouldn't have any problems if this was one prediction list and we had to go with Kerkez. It's a solid pick. He's a very close second for me as well. But that being said, let's move to centre back, and I think there will be some discussions here, and I would like to hear your thoughts on this.
I have three that I have in mind. I think, three or four that I'm debating about. One, of course, I cannot put anything past him, and that is Virgil. Mm-hmm. Everyone's obviously doubted him since that injury in 22, if I'm not mistaken, or 23, and the guy was probably back to his best. Yes, I think when Virgil suffers, the entire team suffers. So yes, when he's had a few, and him and Alisson obviously have this one game where they both lose their heads for some reason. You will have a game where Virgil doesn't perform, but my God, has he been solid throughout. I would have loved to put a pairing of him and Konate, but of course Konate and his injuries obviously play a big part, despite them being a powerhouse pair. I think both of them have the ability to take the ball forward as well as defend very astutely. I think Konate can get a bit risky when it comes to his tackling, and I think he is a little less comfortable on the ball, maybe slightly, than Virgil is. Or he can't spray the ball, or ping passes on either side like a Virgil does. But yeah, Commander-in-Chief, my captain, the first Dutch captain to ever win the Premier League. I cannot not put him in there, right?
Fair enough.
The second one is very interesting, and I'm torn between. I probably would have put Gabriel. Saliba's made a few too many mistakes, I think, for my own liking. But I would have put Gabriel if he stayed fit and if he had continued. The fact that he's not has affected the team, but I still think he's a very good centre back. So I probably had him. He's also a threat in the opposition box, right? So Gabriel. So I really like him. But and then I have Milenkovic.
Yeah.
Nottingham Forest centre back, who I really like, and Dan Burn is the other one.
Okay.
Dan Burn from
Newcastle. Okay.
So, those are my three, and I'm okay to if anyone choose.
So you picked. So just to clarify, you picked Van Dijk, Gabriel, Dan Burn. Is that your three?
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm going to pick Van Dijk, and I'm going to complete my Nottingham Forest trio with Milenkovic.
Okay, and Milenkovic. Okay, so Milenkovic is right centre back, is he? Because I haven't watched Nottingham much this season.
Nottingham first, yeah, I think he might be. But either way, I haven't really deep dived into that.
Okay, sure.
But yes.
So I didn't want to cheat into positions, because I think when it comes to centre backs, I think the left centre back in my mind is always like a left-sided player, a left-footed player. Right centre back is a right-foot player. But of course, Van Dijk plays left centre back for Liverpool. So in my mind, it was, look, Arsenal have conceded 29 goals this season. Liverpool have conceded 31 so far. So they have the best defense in the league. So I don't see how, you can make up that defensive pairing without, an Arsenal-Liverpool backline
Fair.
centre-back pairing. So in my mind, I've said it's either Konate or Saliba for the right centre-back and Van Dijk or Gabriel for the left centre-back. If I want to be really legit about it. And if I do it that way, I would do Konate for the right centre back and Gabriel for the left centre back.
Okay.
But I don't think you can have a team without Van Dijk in there. So I'm going with Van Dijk and Gabriel.
Okay.
Although I do have to say that when I have seen Liverpool play, I have been a bit more impressed with Konate than I have with Van Dijk. Just purely because I think of the pace that Konate has shown this season. Like
But
every
I think
time.
also the fact is that people do attack Konate's side a lot more, given that Trent's on that side, and he probably has to make up ground or provide that support. So I agree. I think most of the flashy tackles and the sort of last minute defensive stuff is done by Konate, but I'm just taking Van Dijk's overall impact on a team.
I have no doubts. Like I've watched the Netherlands play here live a bunch of times, and Van Dijk is the guy who marshals that entire team. The entire back four. He's the one who marshals it. So I get his impact on the game. He controls that Liverpool backline as well. You can see it live. You can see how he does it in the game. It's crazy. And I get why he walks into that team. Although I do have to say, when Liverpool are, penned back a little bit in that low block or mid block, that's Van Dijk's game. When they go up and, someone runs past, Konate is the guy who covers. So I think Liverpool's record has been what it is during those one-on-one actions and all a bit more because of Konate. So even if that team was Konate, Gabriel, because I think Gabriel's been incredible this season. He's been way better than Saliba this season. So I would go with, but my final answer would be Van Dijk and Gabriel.
I mean, I obviously would put Gabriel there. Hands down, if it just wasn't the fact that, because I didn't take Alisson for the fact he was injured, so I didn't take Gabriel. But if you ask me who are the best two centre backs in the league right now, I would say Gabriel and Van Dijk, right?
Yeah.
So two solid rocks, both of them very, very good defensively as well as very good in the opposition boxes, right? So I think both of them have been commanding in the air. So I think those two would be great. Maybe for pace you might just be able to beat a couple of them. But only if you're able to get past them, because the good thing is that they take you where you don't want to go.
Right? Which is fair.
Attacker, which is what as a defender you kind of should do. But yes, there are faster people like you saw against PSG, like a Dembele or a Bakola would take them on, right?
I mean, I think it's a fair centre back pairing. I mean, we're talking about team of the season here, so they're not going to be too many picks which go are you crazy? How can you not have him? I know when I said not Van Dijk, you had that face, but I think we're more or less aligned. But let's move to midfield. And the thing is, in midfield, I think it's, for me at least, was the trickiest, right? Because for some reason I felt like I just couldn't find those players who were really those game changers, right? I've gone with 1 6 and 2 8s. And the 6, so let's start with the 6 first. And I had so many options for that 6. Of course, there's Gravenberch, who has played there as that lone 6. There's other players in that team who have not played in the lone 6. And I was also thinking of Partey in that role. So it was between Partey and Gravenberch. I think when Partey does not play, you see the drop-off with Arsenal. And I think he's been incredible this season. It's ironic because his fitness has always been an issue, and for Arsenal this season. Everyone else is dropping like flies, and this guy has been fit all season. So honestly, it's between Partey and Gravenberch for me in that six. The other players who I had for that six were like Caicedo, Baleba, and all of them play in a double pivot for the most part. And that's why I didn't pick them, because of the way like my team is set up.
Yeah. But okay. So you think Declan would be a higher up player? Is it like, I know he's not traditionally a number 6.
I mean, I think when Arsenal have played this season, like he has been forced to play as a 6 because of injuries. And Partey has gone and played right back, and he's given some defensive cover. But I do think the best of Declan Rice is when he plays in that left 8 role for Arsenal. Yeah. You see him attacking the box more. You see him, with more goal involvements. You see him with pre-assists more. And, this is just me micro-analyzing that game state. But I think he's better off at that 8 role and not as 6.
Okay. All right. I think for me, it's a tough thing. Honestly, you're right. I think midfielders are a difficult space because there are so many of them, as well as how do you... There's not been anyone who's really stood out as a solid sort of Rodri figure, right? Who won the Ballon d'Or, or who could dictate games from there, or like a Paul Scholes earlier on, or someone like that who could dictate a game. I'm just probably going Gravenberch just because it's not his typical role. And the way I think for me it was a toss up. So either I take Gravenberch now, or I was going to take McAllister as a more attacking mid. Yeah. Right. I decided to give Gravenberch the benefit of the doubt, simply because I think it's been an unknown territory. The fact that it's been publicly known that Liverpool tried to get Zubimendi. Yeah. And that sort of does play on some player's psyche, right? The fact that you were probably surplus to requirements, or you're probably a bench player, and then you were made to play in this position which you're not comfortable in, just because the team couldn't get a deal over the line. I've seen very good games from Gravenberch. I've seen games where I think while he's a very good interceptor or a breaker of passage of play by the opposition, he's not exactly pleasing to the eye. I think the same way that Fabinho was, where he would defend very well, but when you see him with the ball, you feel like almost like a Joel Matip, like a giraffe with a ball, where you're like, no, what he's doing there, it's like, what is he going to do? Because he doesn't seem very aesthetically pleasing.
When we were doing the podcast, like in the first few episodes, Samarth was on and on about Gravenberch, and when I watched Liverpool play, that was like, what you say is not the impression I had of Gravenberch at all. Because I feel like even with the ball, he knows how to create space, and he is very good at... He's not that physical presence that you think, of a Fabinho or, any of the other...
Fabinho, both of them look like they're stick figures in which is supposed to be a very, like, a role that was meant to be like Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira, Yaya Toure, like these big bulky guys. And while, I'm not denying anything, I think Gravenberch's passing and dribbling he's got into really good spaces, especially to carry the ball well. But it just isn't aesthetically pleasing. So when I look at him, I'm like, this guy is... There's something that's off about this guy.
Like and I get that, right? Because and I completely understand. And so for me, I could not pick him in the team over Partey, only because we have the 3 players per team limit, and because if you ask me tomorrow, would I have Partey as a 6 for Arsenal or Gravenberch? I would want Partey.
Yeah, fair.
Right. That was basically how I looked at it. So I understand Gravenberch, but who's your left 8? Or who are both your 8s? Fine.
No, but okay, so both my 8s. One's obviously a player who I didn't think would have such an impact or had such an impact, especially when, or rather we saw his impact when he was outside the team and sort of injured and then came back in. And that's Martin Odegaard.
Okay.
I think early in the season he was injured, if I'm not mistaken, for a while.
Yeah,
right?
he was injured for like a couple of months, 2-3 months. Yeah.
Is it? Oh, then I shouldn't actually be doing that but I still think overall impact of, I probably saw Arsenal dip a few times during that period. I really like Odegaard as a player. I think he's not flashy, but he's effective. And I didn't think he'd have the sort of impact that he's had at Arsenal, especially as being captain, which is quite surprising. Because this is a kid who I knew could have come to Liverpool before he chose Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of pimped out to a lot of different clubs at that point of time.
Yeah.
I remember him coming to...
And look, I understand the backstory, and I'm again emphasizing, right? Like, we're talking about this season alone. Like, I get the story, and I also believe he's a 15 goal a season like player and all that. But bro, this season,
I actually forgot that he was out for a couple of months, honestly. So
okay.
Let me revert with that. So let me get back to that.
Okay.
I would probably have Morgan Rogers there.
Okay.
I wanted to say Cole Palmer, but my God, that guy irritates the shit out of me.
Yeah, and
I've never seen him. Yeah.
Like, my only question is, right, because you said left 8 and you spoke about Rogers and Palmer who both play.
Oh, did I say left? I thought I was just saying both.
Oh, okay, both, but both 8s, right? But Palmer isn't an 8, right? Like, he plays on the right wing and Rogers plays on the left wing, technically speaking.
Technically, I mean, but they're
more
midfielders than they are because I can't put Palmer on the right wing technically. He's not a traditionally right. I would rather have him play in my central. He's a winger who comes probably more into the central role than anyone. But I mean, you could take your picks. You had Enzo Fernandez, who's probably a decent shout.
Okay.
Maybe.
So I'll tell you my 2 8s and.
Go ahead.
My take is McAllister walks into any football team in the world today.
Yeah, I know.
And the thing is, he's one out of 2 names which I just put when I started writing. So I was like, these are 2 names which have to be in the team, because what I love about McAllister is he brings balance into that midfield. And I think Gravenberch in that team and also Szoboszlai in that team are made to look better players, and they're already great players, but they're made to look better because of McAllister. And I think if you see the couple of years he's had, and even this whole season, every time Liverpool's midfield feels overrun, there are a few games when they've actually lost that midfield battle, but McAllister has always been that player to find that balance. Every time Liverpool are pegged back, he's the one who comes out. Every time Liverpool are attacking and need some transition back defensively, he's the one who helps.
Yeah.
So McAllister walks into that team. And the third player in that midfield, although not too creative, is Bruno Guimaraes. And
okay.
And
sure. Yeah.
Bro, like, Newcastle played Arsenal like twice this season. Once in the cup and once away from home. And man, this guy is everywhere on the pitch. Guimaraes, Partey and McAllister, for that reason, make my midfield 3. I think you have seen firsthand what he does even in the cup. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, actually I forgot, bro, because I was focusing with Newcastle more up front.
Yeah.
But sure, I think that is a very good shout out.
Yeah.
I think Bruno, I probably put Bruno Guimaraes there. I'd put Gravenberch. My other I'll put Rogers there just because I want him there, and I just I can't have him not be there where I already have the up front 3. So let's just put those.
Which is completely fine. So let's move to the front 3. This is what you would call a tap in, right? In football terms.
Easiest tap in.
So why Bukayo Saka? No, I'm joking. So Salah is on 28 goals right now. 36 is the all-time record by Haaland. He is on, I think, 3 assists to break the all-time record?
So he's on 18, 20 is the assist record, right?
3 to break it, right? So in a season where this guy is on almost 70 goal contributions across all competitions, mad season, the best by far of his Liverpool career, which is already saying something. Probably the lead for the Ballon d'Or, unless someone has a mad Champions League run.
It's technically between him and Rafinha, right? Like, I don't think Lamine gets it at this point yet. I think Lamine becomes the young player of the year, but it's either between him and Rafinha.
Second right now in the rankings is Declan Rice, by the way. Right now.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
So
that's a pull. I mean, I think if Arsenal get past PSG and
if Arsenal win, if they win, if they win, even then I would say it's still a bit of English stats, right? Because I think Salah's had this is Messi numbers season, right? Like, I think it cannot be given to anyone else, even if Arsenal win the Champions League. But then there is a discussion that we need to probably have, like.
Yeah, I think only if Barcelona win the Champions League, then you've got a treble-winning team. If they win the league, La Liga also, then you have someone like a Rafinha coming. But these numbers are insane. I think in terms of pure goals that we saw and the kind of goals that we saw in 2017, 2018, Salah was out of this world. But he's brought assists to his forward game, which is something he was criticized a lot for during his Firmino, Mane thing, that he was too selfish. He would never pass. He would look to always score. But it's...
Yeah, and the thing with Salah is, like, he can make something out of nothing. He's that moments player for Liverpool. And I think that just cannot be put into words. And whatever goals and assists, like, that he gets, don't come close, you know?
He can have a bad game for 80 minutes of the 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he'd show up in that last 10 minutes and take the game away from you. He's that kind of a player.
And this season, right, there was a game against Fulham where Liverpool were losing 1-0 at Anfield. Liverpool were outrun in midfield. Basically, it was Fulham's game. And I think in 2 minutes, he scored like 2 goals. Maybe it was Leicester, but it was just like, you blink and it's 2-1. And that was one of those title-turning, when you look back, title-turning like days. So, yeah, I mean, look, enough said about Salah. We've spoken like a lot about him on this podcast. And
but shout out again to like someone like a Saka or a Hudson-Odoi or Ilanga, those guys have been quite good.
Mbeumo, maybe.
Yeah. And yeah, I think, Diallo for a bit for United, I guess, on that side was...
he
had a purple patch. But anyone for United... I was thinking for like a Bruno Fernandes there in midfield, but I was like, but what has he... you can't really... When a team is languishing down 15th,
there
in 15th or something, you can't really compliment a player or any player. But I think Saka, close shot, but again, no one ever... Or even a Jacob Murphy for Newcastle, right?
True.
Very underrated.
Yeah, definitely. But, okay, I'm going to use that as a segue because I'm assuming your striker, like your number 9 is Isak.
Not really.
No? Okay, let's hear it.
I was going to put Isak.
Yeah.
But because of Isak's versatility, I've pushed him out to the left. Which is a bit weird.
This is a bit like, this is a grey area here, but okay, sure. Let's hear. Okay, fine. Isak on the left, and who's up top?
I've put Matheus Cunha.
Okay. It's a good shout. It's a very good shout.
I couldn't put Chris Wood there because I think there has been a drop off.
And you already have 3 Forest players.
And I've already have 3 Forest.
Yeah.
And I kind of made that decision. No, I made that decision when I chose Milenkovic as a striker that I knew either my striker was going to be Isak or Chris Wood. Could have put Anthony Gordon there and I put Isak up front, but I did want to mention Matheus Cunha. I think...
Bro, very good shout, man. What a baller.
crazy season for him.
Yeah.
I've been. It's been. I think in a Wolves team that has struggled a lot, he has been the shining spark, and it's not a surprise that he's being linked to a lot of top clubs. I think
Yeah.
he's the kind of striker I also like. I'm not particularly a huge fan of present day big number nines. There are not too many. Even a Haaland, to be honest, is not really my favorite kind of player. Just because I don't see very good traditional number nines. Even a Chris Wood, sure, probably the closest, but I don't really see a traditional number nine. Ollie Watkins, would have loved to put him in there. Another shout out, very good season, but
Bit patchy, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but also that he's not had playing time, especially when they've got Rashford and Asensio in there. It's a bit sad to see that. John Duran would have been a good
After
start.
January, I think after the move failed, he probably was like relegated to the bench. Although, man, I love your picks, right? Like, so Isak for me is my number 9, just because he's a complete forward, right? And the thing is, I cannot have a team without Isak in. Because Isak is just, he can create a goal out of nothing. He heads the ball, both feet, great shot, long shots, poacher, everything a striker needs. Chris Wood is a big shout out. And I actually have a Norwegian striker in Strand Larsen. Because you say Cunha has chipped in with 15 goals. Strand Larsen, 13 goals this season, on an incredible run of form. And honestly, if you think about recruiting number 9s in the Premier League, right? It's the most difficult position to recruit for. Like, you see Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, like all of these teams have spent big money and have not gotten the number 9 that they want, right? Newcastle spent 60 million to trigger Isak's release clause, which was considered very big at the time. And Strand Larsen came for peanuts, and just by impact, right, in the league, huge impact. And in the beginning of the season, Wolves were in a terrible run of form. They were bottom of the league. Right now under Vitor Pereira, they're the most informed team in Europe. They have won 6 in a row. They would have been dead 17th just because the 3 teams who've gotten relegated are so bad. But they would have been 17th, and right now they're 13th, 14th. And of course, Mateusz Cunha has been huge throughout the season. But for a number 9, I think Strand Larsen is that honorable mention for me. On the left,
I also want to just quick shout out maybe to Mateta.
Oh, that's a good shout, man. That's a very good shout.
I just realized, I was like, there is. I think the good thing is this time the main striker position wasn't dominated by a big player from a big club.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't have like a Haaland or a Alvarez, maybe now he's not even there, but like even a Marmoush for that example, I guess.
Yeah.
Or you had a Nicholas Jackson or a.
It's not your usual.
Not your usual. So it's pretty cool to see that. Now left wing, I'm quite interested in hearing your.
This was in my mind the most difficult, right? Because even in midfield, you had like some options. You could go with a very defensive midfield. You could go with an attacking midfield. You could play a left winger, or you could play like what you did, right? Like more attacking player in that 8. And I look at the left wing spot, right? And every player or some players have had like purple patches. Like Gakpo has had a purple patch for Liverpool. Anthony Gordon has had a purple patch for Newcastle. Iliman Ndiaye has had like good games for Everton. And I went with Morgan Rogers here because I see that Morgan Rogers plays a bit more attacking. But he has also played very well in that midfield 8, so I understand why you go with him in that role. Or Mateusz Cunha. And I picked Morgan Rogers because I feel it's not fair to leave out an Aston Villa player, and I think Morgan Rogers really showed, with his performance that he is also a complete player. So that kind of rounds up my team with Salah, Isak, and Rogers is my front three.
Yeah,
What are yours
I
again?
had Isak. I
Yeah.
had Isak on the left, but I mean, I'm actually thinking there are actually quite a few other honorable mentions that I do need to shout out, and one is, of course, I mean, I like Gordon, but again, here and hit and miss at times. Diaz was probably one of the better left wingers out there.
Yeah.
Gakpo, I know Gakpo had his purple patch and then declined a bit, or he had an injury and then he didn't play for a bit.
Yeah,
But whenever he did, he probably chipped in with some important goals.
Yeah,
So I
exactly.
really- I think
Yeah.
He's another player that's probably transformed under Arne Slot. Another one who I think I should probably give a shout out to is Eze.
True. True.
I also want to probably Clivert. Justin Clivert could play winger,
Yeah.
probably in the forward lineup. You had Semenyo, who probably was very good for me I could have put him in my midfield. maybe
Or
instead of-
9, actually. But
Yeah.
like what you're saying, right? Like a lot of these players are good, which is why they play in the Premier League. But if you look at just pure output, right? Like if you look at the top 15 winger goal plus assist contributions, like 12 of them are from the right. And
exactly, yes.
And the thing is, because Salah just takes that spot, a part of me also wanted to put like an Mbeumo down on the left, although he's not really a left winger, but
I was debating putting Saka there just because of the impact, but I was like,
Yeah.
no, that's not.
yeah, that's a bit too much, but fair enough. Well, that rounds up the team. Let's do a couple of more things, right? Like, I would like to know what your surprise of the season can be. Like, it could be a game, it could be a player, it could be a manager, it could be anything you want.
So my biggest surprise for this season, I mean, Nottingham Forest, really. I mean, I can't really look past them. When we lost to Nottingham Forest, I was like, you dumb idiots. How could you lose to Nottingham Forest, right? This is a team that had spent billions before and couldn't do anything with it. So how could you lose to Nottingham Forest? But then when I saw their performances against the other teams, I was like, oh.
Fair
I
enough.
don't think we actually. I think we actually beat them. If I'm not mistaken, we lost to them and we drew to them. That's my surprise. But more than that is the fact that Nuno Espirito Santos, a manager who was heavily criticized during his time at Spurs, right, and who was thought of as this. Yeah, I don't think he's got a career anymore in the Premier League.
Bro, but his Wolves team were ballers. Like, like my wife started watching football in that lockdown era, and the team which she started seeing was Wolves. And once Nuno left Wolves, like, they have been quite
Famous Spurs supporter.
very average. No, she didn't. I ensured she wears Arsenal through and through. But even now, when she talks about mid-table team, she always talks about Wolves because of what Nuno has done for Wolves, right? And right now he's giving that same energy to Nottingham Forest, because a lot of these players are Steve Cooper signings, and he's just taken them.
Yeah.
Like, bro, Chris Wood has a better scoring record than Drogba. Like, it's mad. Like, but my surprise of the season, and of course, like, Nottingham Forest has to be in, and I think it's the obvious choice. But I think Gravenberch was not in my team of the season, and for all the reasons that you mentioned, right? And to be a starting 6 in the Premier League, when that you've never really played in that position ever in your life. Right from his Ajax days, he was that box-to-box 8. He was never a 6. And for him to take that role and, seamlessly not just impress, but win a league title, right? I think he is my surprise of the season, without a doubt.
No, I mean, it definitely is, because I saw a lot of, when we got him from Bayern Munich, there's a lot of amusement from the Munich fans saying, we cheated you out of whatever it was, 25 million or something, or 15 million, something like that. So you got a bench player for so much, and and it was all of that. And they were like, oh, you overspent for him, he's not worth it. And we saw in the first season, yes, he was very underwhelming. Klopp also didn't probably know how to utilize him to his best.
Yeah.
But my God, has he
Delivered, yeah.
found his form or delivered, and Arne Slot needs a lot of respect
Credit, yeah.
to this. Yeah,
For
so
sure.
for that change. So definitely interesting. Yeah, I think a good surprise.
Yeah. And who's your disappointment of the season? Like, again, could be a player, could be a team, anything.
I think both of us would have our rivals as the biggest disappointments of the season, even though it is a good thing that they are disappointing.
Oh, you'll be very surprised with my answer.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, of course, from a personal point of view, Darwin I thought would have been a bigger impact player. Or maybe this will be the year where he'll actually find his shooting boots on and he'll be able to score those. But yeah, that's been a disappointment. His attitude as well has been slightly disappointing, to say the least. But yeah, I mean, someone like an Onana is probably my most disappointing.
I thought you would go like either Man United or Tottenham, like as like a club,
I was going to go Manchester United, but I'm no longer disappointed in them, or they can't be disappointing because I've seen that team suffer so much and I've seen that team become so bad that it's just inevitable, it's just kind of like, yeah, you kind of expected them that, yeah, maybe not in 15th, but I think I probably disappointed surprisingly by Amorim. I thought he would, these managerial changes often come with a boost in form. This guy's just taking them way down back to...
They were 3 off the Champions League spots when he joined. 3 points of the Champions League spots when he joined, and now they're 3 points off 17th. I get that we're talking in a season where a manager has won the Premier League in his first season, but I think with United, that rebuild needs to happen, and that rebuild will be painful. And my biggest disappointment for that reason is not United. It's also not Tottenham, because I think this is what Tottenham fans deserve. Like when you celebrate losing at home, which costs you the Champions League, and Postecoglou has said this as well. Like that mentality is what cost them. Like you couldn't spend what you could spend in the summer. You had to buy younger players, and look where they are now. My biggest disappointment is Martin Odegaard. And I wanted to say James Maddison because, I had said that in the beginning of the season. But honestly, James Maddison has been one of the brighter spots in a poor Tottenham team. But Odegaard, Arsenal have been boring to watch. And I can look at the 15 years that I supported Arsenal, and Arsenal have performed worse, right? But this season...
But never been boring.
We've been boring. A lot of that, I get, has to do with injuries, right? Like, Saka has been out, and the minute Saka comes back, Odegaard's out, and the minute Odegaard's out, back, Havertz is out, Jesus is out. Like, the injuries, I get, right? But when Odegaard is playing, it just feels that he's playing when he's injured, which is why a lot of his shots are so weak, because he hasn't built his strength on his left foot. And if you look at his shots, he actually goes on his right to take a lot of shots. And if you look at his contributions have been poor. He's been anonymous in big games, and as captain, you expect better. And I think the drop off with Arsenal when Odegaard has not been playing has been because Arsenal's squad building has been so poor that Arsenal have not gotten a player to play in that Odegaard role. Like when Odegaard was injured, Arsenal tried playing Ranieri, Havertz, Trossard, all of them in that role, but none of them are the players who can unlock defenses. And I think Arsenal really missed a trick in recruitment, and they relied on Odegaard's fitness. But I think Odegaard really dropped off. I wouldn't be surprised if there's news that he's unfit. But okay, if you're ready to start in 2 Champions League quarterfinals and a Champions League semi-final, you should show up. And I think he didn't show up. So he's been my disappointment of the season. On that note, who's your manager?
I mean, I could go easy pickings and be like Arne Slot, right? First Premier League title in the first year. He's managed to tweak the playing style to suit a lot of players, as well as to ensure that you're not going full throttle 24/7, and that's the kind of thing where it happens with either Guardiola team or Guardiola team not being heavy metal but relentless, so that tires players out. You have a Klopp team which goes relentless, that tires players out, and so on and so forth. But I think you could say Arne Slot. For me, there are 4 managers, and one is Arne Slot, one is Nuno Espirito Santos, the other one is Unai Emery, the last one is Iraola.
Ooh, yeah.
I love him as a manager. I think he's very, very good. Unfortunately, had a lot of injuries, and that's kind of seen volatility in the team's performances. But I really like it. I see, the thing is, I'd give Nuno Espirito if he came to the Champions League spot.
Mm-hmm.
I think
and there's still time. There's still time. Yeah.
They still can. I could say Eddie Howe, but I mean Eddie Howe's been consistent, so I will still go Arne just because I want to, and
okay.
That's my claim. But I mean, these were very close. You could make a case for each one of these 4, I think, and I would be okay with it.
Yeah, look, my 4 are again the same names that you have mentioned. Don't want to go Arne Slot for the only reason that you have just mentioned it, and I want a different argument to put here. So my top 2 are actually between Iraola and Unai Emery. I have long said, and I've said this even in the first season, that one day when Mikel leaves Arsenal, I want Iraola to be the Arsenal manager.
You said that. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought you were going back on Unai Emery, which you've said multiple times on my podcast. About how
No, I think Unai Emery here, look, he's gotten Aston Villa to the Champions League. I do really sympathize that he had to lose John Duran in January.
Yeah.
And probably Ollie Watkins' head was gone as well, right? So he lost his entire front line that took him to the Champions League knockouts. He was really a whisker away from beating PSG. It was very, very close. And right now on the points table, Aston Villa have not dropped off massively. Like, they could have a good run and still get to top 4, you know?
I think it was a genius masterstroke to bring in Rashford and Asensio.
Yeah, true.
I think that's insane power there. I know Asensio sucks on penalties, and if he had scored, maybe they could have.
Yeah.
But still, I know Unai Emery gets a lot of stick for his Arsenal days, and I know we've discussed this a lot on FFS. But yes, I think it's definitely nice to see him do well, and I think he's got a good fire. He's got a good team there, especially up front. And if he keeps Ollie Watkins, great. I do agree with you. John Duran was a big miss, but that kind of money to come in.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get more than that ever for him. So I understand that, but you look at ambition of a club, right? Because right now there's so much money going around. If Aston Villa, qualify for another stage in the Champions League, and I don't know what's going to happen in the second leg against PSG for Arsenal, but I would rather face PSG than Aston Villa, right? Because I think Aston Villa have those very low blocks, which are just going to be difficult to beat. And
I think Villa's got done quite well. I think Watkins I remember the early game against Villa. I think he missed a few chances there, and I was like, he knows how.
Yeah. And
getting one over would have been great.
It's happened already in the Europa League previously, but my picks are between Unai Emery and Iraola. I think Iraola has proved doubters wrong, and Unai Emery has, gotten them to that stage where they haven't had a massive drop-off, but purely because they've not cemented their Champions League spot, I would go with Iraola here. And before we end the episode, I want to just do a quick bonus question. Who has caught your eye in Europe? Just one player.
Unfortunately, I have not watched a lot of Europe, and especially that's because to do with the fact that either the games are at the same time or Champions League games are way too late, and I am definitely on the wrong side of 30 to be watching that on a regular basis. Could just go the easy one and say someone like Lamine Yamal or Dembele only off late. I don't think I saw anyone in that PSG squad when we actually got matched up with them. I really thought we had a chance, especially the way the group stage had panned out. Yeah, it's tough. Who do you have?
In my mind, this player has surprised me so much considering his physique. I watched this player 2 legs against Liverpool, 2 legs against Aston Villa, and at the Emirates.
Kvaratskhelia.
No.
No.
I think Kvaratskhelia has been a good buy in January that's helped PSG lift their game.
Yeah.
But I think the best player on the pitch, hands down, in all of these games is Joao Neves.
Okay.
Like, absolutely incredible. Like, I'm so interested to watch the second leg because Arsenal will have their first choice midfield. And I want to see if PSG still outrun Arsenal, because I do think that Joao Neves was the guy who really helped PSG in a lot of those moments, because every time, someone wins the first ball and invariably his opposite number is taller than him and stronger than him, this guy wins the second ball. Always.
Yeah.
Like, how is that possible? Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, Tielemans, Onana, Rogers, Declan Rice, Odegaard, Merino. All of these players, okay, apart from Odegaard, are like much bigger than him. And he always wins the second ball, and then the possession is on PSG. So, yeah, I think he's not a glamorous player, but he does things really well. And I think he's one of those instant level raisers, right? Like what Van Dijk and Alisson were for Liverpool. I think he's that kind of player, and yeah, I don't think you can really prize him away from PSG at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's got age on his side as well, so
yeah.
Sure. Yeah, Yamal's the usual one. I mean, even in the Bundesliga, you have, I think, Olise has been a revelation for Bayern.
Yeah.
Florian Wirtz is a usual shout-out. I think
I'm
keen to see where he goes.
These kind of episodes are always fun because, it's really subjective. It's just opinions. And on that note, for those of you listening, give your opinions in the comments. Would love to hear what you have to say on all of these aspects. Tell us if you've got it wrong. Tell us if you're being stupid and forgotten someone. Thank you so much for being on this podcast again, and talk to you guys soon. Thank you.